Näistäpä oivan sopan saisin, vanha eukko itsekseen ajatteli. Pik oli muorin nimi, ja hän eli yksin pienessä mökissä vanhan metsän reunamilla. Senlaisia luita ei ollut hän koskaan kohdannut. Ei hirven, ei karhun, aivan liian pieniä. Ei ketun, ei peuran, aivan liian suuria. Luut on luita, muori itselleen tokaisi, nälkäinen kun oli. Keräs joka luun ja joka luun kotiin kantoi. Muori arvolöytänsä laski tuvan pitkälle pöydälle. Laski ja sorteeras joka löydön, isosta pieneen, pitkästä lyhyeen. Aamun tullen putsais jok-ikisen, keittelis kelposopan melkoisen. Kaalia katajaa kynsilaukkaa, kelposoppa, kunnon soppa. Eukko laski levolle ja silmänsä sulki, mutta unipa ei tullut. Muori makas, remus heittelehti, sydän villinä hakkas. Siitä hän ties, oli ulkomaailma pysähtynyt. Ei haamanlehti huuannut, ei huuhkaja huhuillut, ei sirittänyt sirkatkaan, ihan kuin olisi yö henkeään pidätellyt. Yhtäkkiä kuului metsästä vanhasta yksi ainoa ääni, tuskin kuiskausta kummempi, mut Pik kuuli sen kuin se olisi korvan juuresta henkäisty. Anna minun luuni takaisin. Vanha muori sinkas ylös ja vanhat jalat kohtas kylmän lattian. Kuinka olikaan lattia niin kylmä? Hän tarkasti ikkunat, kiinni olivat. Hän tuhdilla salvalla oven kampes. Yhtäkkiä tuntui se pieneltä ja heiveröiseltä muorin käden alla. Eukko keräsi luut ja piilotti ne porstuvan komeroon. Seisoi pimeässä ja odotti ja odotti. Odotti, kunnes omia luita kolotti. Anna minun luuni takaisin. Enää ei ollut ääni hiljainen, ei kaukainen. Muori otti luut ja lattialautain alle piilotti. Tuli hiljaista, hyvin hiljaista. Pitkään oli hiljaista. Ehkäpä lattialaudat piiloksi riittivät. Anna minun luuni takaisin. Se oli jo pihamaalla. Sängyn alle, takkaan, kaapin päälle muori piiloja vaihtoi. Ääni tuli lähemmäs, lähemmäs ja lähemmäs. Lopulta Pik muori luut haki, pöydän alta piiloa niiden kanssa haki. Kuin likkalapsi vaaria karussa. Ei hengittänyt Pik, ei uskaltanut silmää räpäyttää. Pitkään muori istui ja tuijotti ja odotti. Se ei tullut sisään. Ehkä se ei voinut. Ja sitten tuvan perältä. Anna minun luuni takaisin. Muori kääntyi ja... This is the moment my father would always grab me in the dark. Always the same beat, the same moment, the same build-up. It didn't help that I knew. It still scared the crap out of me every time. He'd always tell his stories in the dark, in a fortress built from blankets and pillows. Like this one. He told his stories like a memoir, something he'd witnessed, something that happened to him while he was my age. 5 or 6 years old. I don't know if these stories are old, something he was told as a child, or something he just made up. Stories part remembered, part imagined, part fashioned to scare the crap out of his son in the dark. The stories never changed. Night after night he told them to me over and over again. I didn't understand them, and now that I'm older, I can't ask. He's not here anymore to answer. So I'll give you these stories like they were given to me, alone, in the dark, in a fortress made of blankets and pillows. The analysis will come later. It always comes later. Kampi korskui ja krähisi, rohisi ja rätisi. Tipan tippaa ei vettä tullut. Kuivunut oli kaivo, sitä ei nuori muistanut. Lähteelle pitäisi pojan painella, yötä myöten metsään madella. Mut kuu kuumotti ja yö oli kirkas, helposti poika polkunsa löytäs. Lähteellä poika polvistui ja joi. Vesi maistui mainiolta, raikkaalta. maistui kiveltä, raudalta, maalta. Poika pyyhki suunsa hihaan ja askelta kotia kohti otti, kun jokin seisahtumaan käski. Ei nähnyt, ei kuullut, vaan ties. Jokin lähestyi. Jokin, jota häiritä ei sovi. Pani päänsä poika pensaikkoon, pikkiriikkiseksi itsensä teki. Puskasta polulle katseli, vartoi katveessa koivikon. 1, 2, 3, 6 miestä polkua astui. Parhaat päällänsä pellavat pieluksilla. Pellavien päässä painoi arkku. Kirstu kalmankannolle. Utelias, urhea Uuno, sellainen oli isäni, joten nousi piilostaan ja kävi saattuetta seuraamaan. Metsän rajassa hiippaili, samaa tahtia saattueen asteli. Lähemmäksi, lähemmäksi, lähemmäksi. Haistoi mullan, haistoi maan, haistoi jotain, jota ei osannut sijoittaa. Vasta silloin huomasi, kun kantajia tarkkaan tarkkasi. Ei ollut kasvoja kantajilla, ei ollut kasvoja, koska ei ollut päitä. Sitten tiesi, löysi sanat sille, jotka sisin jo tiesi. Kirkonväki, kalmanväki, kuolleet kuolleita kuljettaa. Isä siihen jäi seisomaan ja saattue ohi taivalsi. Taivals kuin joki ohi kiven, kuin polulla ei ketään seisoiskaan, kun siellä ei ketään elävää oliskaan. Ei liikkunut isä ennen kuin oli saattue poissa. Ei puhua asiasta pukahtanut ennen kuin minulle kertoi. Ei kettu, ei karhu, ei huuhka ja ei haavisto. Se oli ääni, jolle ei ollut syntyä suotu. Läpi ikkunan, läpi akkunan, läpi puiden, läpi luiden. Ääni rintaan kolonkaivers, pesän pieneen poikaan kairas. Ei ääni pojalle rauhaa suonut, täytyi tietää, mikä julman soiton oli luonut. Isä nousi, pihapiiriin hiipi, rantasaunasta himmeä kajoriipi. Lähemmäksi kävi veden rajaa, askeleensa sovitti kohti pesuvajaa. Kävi ääni soitoks, kävi ääni kauniiksi, yökin henkeään pidätti, kummaa soittoa kuunteli. Porstuva narisi painon alla, pojan epävarman askeleen alla. Vartoi poika, vartoi soitto, toisiaanko, tosiaanko. Jatkoi poika, jatkoi soitto, päätöksen kumpainenkin teki. Käsi kahvan kohtas sileän, 100 vuoden hioman. Isä ties, niin kuin jokainen, ei pidä saunaa yöaikaan häiritsemään. Oven auki hitaasti hilasi, saranat kuin luut vanhan eukon natisi. Oli sauna pimeä kuin pirun piennar, ei kekäleitä kiukaassa, ei kulua kynttilöissä. Nurkassa istui Vilppulan Kalle, kekäleitä käsissään. Hiljaa istui Kalle, soitteli vaan kekäleitään. Isä soittoa kuunteli, soittajaa tarkkas. Soittaja isää tuskin lainkaan huomas. 1 askel, sitten toinen, hiljaa hiipi pois kulki. Hiljaa hiipi, oven sulki. Kotia kohti, pihamaan poikki. Kaiken matkaa kekäleet soitti. Siitä asti kaiken aikaa, kekäleet aina korvis raikaa. You received the stories the way I did, without a map. Now, let's make one. These stories share many threads. One of the most strongest is the Finnish concept of väki, the spiritual, magical power inherent to objects, places, and elements. Väki isn't sentient, it isn't moral, it's closer to a physical law, like gravity or heat, cause and effect. Disturb it, and it seeks equilibrium. Väki could heal, bless, curse, it could inflict wounds and ward off harm, it could help or hurt. Even the Finnish word for violence, väkivalta, means to rule with väki. Fire has väki, water has väki, iron, women, wood, all things are laden with väki. Even the dead have their own, kalmanväki. In Finnish folklore, the dead are not gone. They remain in a practical sense. Their väki doesn't dissipate, it changes form. It lies dormant in what the dead leave behind. Take something charged with kalmanväki and the charge follows you like a contagion. Not because the dead are angry, though they might be, but because that is how force works. Let go of a stone, it falls. The bones Pick-Pick found aren't haunted, nor in the way you think. They hold kalmanväki, and she can't touch them without contending with it. The voice isn't just a revenant who demands its remains back. Anna minun luuni takaisin isn't just a plea. It is the force that pulls the rock down into the ground. Pick-Pick didn't just disturb their spirit, she meddled with the order of things. Every story is a contact, charged material, charged spaces, charged remains. The procession carries a casket, Vilppulan Kalle plays music with embers, remnants of the dead, remnants of fire, kalmanväki, tulenväki. Väki reveals something fundamental about the Finnish supernatural. It isn't about evil, it's about consequence. Power resides in things, contact transmits that power, and ignorance doesn't protect you. Every encounter on these stories happens on a threshold. Pick-Pick's cottage sits at the edge of the old woods, the spring lies near the forest trail, the sauna stands on a shore. Sauna is a liminal space. Birth was given in sauna, the dead were washed in sauna, life began and ended in sauna. There you sweat and you wash, you are naked, yet not nude. It's a place that belongs to your home, but stands apart from it. The sauna belonged to the living by day and to something else at night. It stood between two worlds. The woods are another threshold. In Finnish folklore, the forest isn't the beautiful, romantic wilderness we imagine today. The woods are what eats you, where you lose your way, where things lie in wait. The woods are where the human world ends. Settlement as an edge, and beyond that edge, different rules apply. Pick-Pick walked into the woods. My father walked into the woods. They left human ground to claim what they desired and met what waited beyond. Finnish folklore is precise about where contact happens. The threshold isn't a metaphor, it is a location. You can point to it on a map. The sauna, the tree line, the fork where the trail meets the forest. Horror has an address in Finnish folklore. Thresholds connect to väki. These are places where väki is most potent, most volatile, where the wild meets the domestic, where the living brush against the dead. On these thresholds, my father's stories took place. None of these stories resolve. Pick-Pick is consumed, the procession passes by, Kalle plays on. These stories describe encounter, not overcoming, navigation, not mastery. No curse is lifted, no monster is defeated, no lesson is learned. Western storytelling makes a promise. Understand the thing, and you'll overcome it. These stories break that promise. They offer only recognition. Here is the edge, here's what lies past it, here's what happens when you cross. Here are the dead, their bones, their procession, their music. Now you know, and it doesn't save you. But to not know, that is much worse. These stories don't offer a resolution because the phenomena they describe never resolve. The dead will walk, the bones will call, the music will play on. These aren't moral fables. They don't tell you how to behave. They describe the border where our reign ends. Finnish tradition has a word for the knowledge that lets you master these forces. Synty, the birth of things, the origin. Understand how something came to be, and you can heal it, ward it, contend with it. These are stories where synty is lost. I didn't know any of this. I heard these stories as a small child, at night, in a blanket fort. I didn't have the concept of väki to make sense of these stories. I didn't know sauna was a liminal space charged with spiritual weight. I didn't notice the absence of resolution. I just received them in the dark. I didn't understand what the hell was up with these stories. They just scared the crap out of me. By the time I could analyze these stories, apply a framework to them, they were already a part of me, installed, operative. They shaped how I saw the world, what I saw in the dark. You can't consent to what leaves its mark on you. Contact transmits, proximity installs. My father's words in the dark were a contact with something I've carried with me ever since. Kalmanväki, the power of the dead, isn't only in bones and graves and embers. It's in stories, in the words of the dead who speak through you. We all carry notions we didn't choose, legacies we can't articulate. None of it was explained, only transmitted, only received. All of us have inherited something in the dark, from the dark. I've never managed to find anything remotely connected to these stories. No written words, no obscure tangents, no stories with eerie similarities. In all likelihood, my father made these stories up, the way stories like these are always made, from bits and pieces. Someone told him something like them, he heard something along those lines, he read something from somewhere. Then he half dreamed, half remembered, half transformed those bits and pieces into stories of his own. He received those pieces from somewhere. Whoever gave them received them from somewhere else. The chain goes back into the dark. So what is it I'm actually doing here? Is it folklore I analyze? Or do I just give shape to an absence? One that will never resolve. The synty of these stories is gone. It left when he left. The analysis stands on its own. Väki is a real concept. These patterns are widely documented. But it was the absence that made me search, that made me my father's son, utelias, urhea, Uno. The one who creeps closer to things better left undisturbed, who picks at the remains of stories. Stories of what remains when things no more remain. Bones after flesh is gone, casket after life is gone, embers after fire is gone. What is left when the story and its teller have both returned to the dark? Are these stories folklore? Is this what I do right now folklore? We always receive before we understand. And so we must lay our stories on a table like the bones of the dead, big to small, long to short, to find a pattern, to uncover a shape, to share whatever wisdom the arrangement reveals. Perhaps that's the essence of folklore. The dead borrow our mouths, our voices, and we allow the dead their say to hold on to something that has passed beyond. We carry words whose origins we can't trace. We pass them on before we understand what they mean. By the time we are old enough, wise enough to understand, it is often too late. All we are left are the words of the dead, their stories, their väki, an inheritance we can't comprehend, and no one left to ask. What was it all for? What did it all mean? What the hell do embers sound like when played? Hello, friend. I'm glad you're here with me. Here, at the end of all things. If you enjoyed this video, the latest is already available to my supporters at patreon.com. Thank you for watching. Until next time.